There it is. Awesome. So if you see me look down a little bit, it's because I am curating the playlist. We're gonna give. So if you see me look down a little bit, it's because I am curating the playlist. We're gonna give. Once. We're going to give it a couple minutes here to let some other people join in. I want to thank everyone for joining. This is going to be so much fun. I hope you're excited. Again, if you see me look down, it's because I am looking at the Spotify playlist. If you click the link in the chat, um, what that's going to do is it's going to give you access to the Spotify playlist, but it's live with me kind of curating so I can connect the music to the content. It'll make it more immersive, it'll make it more fun. We're just about 30 seconds away from 7 o'clock. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll give it 3 or 4 minutes, let a few other people join in, and then we'll get started. I am so excited. I'm so pumped up. Right now, guys, I would click the link in the Spotify, get on the jam. Let's listen to the music together. Let's move around. Let's move our bodies. Okay. So I know if you're in the North Texas area, you've probably been at home. It's cold. You've been cooped up. I know for me, it feels like it doesn't feel like it's true. I've been cooped up working from home, working remote for 4 years, um, going on to five since COVID from 2020 on. And a lot of us are in that same boat. And there's a lot of emotions that are stuck in our bodies. And how we get rid of that is by moving our bodies. The quickest way to make a state change is through your physiology, is to get up, guys. Get up, get moving, move, shake. We were not meant to be stiff. We weren't built to be machines and robots. We're meant to move. We're meant to sing. We're meant to dance. We're meant to resonate with the reality. And we're going to get into all that. We're going to talk about it. And I think we're going to have some powerful breakthroughs, some powerful mindset shifts. I've been praying over this event. I've been praying about individually each and every single person that registered. You've been in my prayers individually, collectively, as a group. I am just so excited. Just I can almost not contain myself. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes and then we'll jump right in there. Again, on the links, or I'm sorry, in the comments, I pinned to the top the Spotify Jam. So if you click that, you'll see that I have a really cool Trevor Hall song playing right now for us called "You Can't Rush Your Healing." It's a great song. If you get on the jam, I'm going to be able to curate the playlist and connect it with the content as best I can. I'm producing, I'm speaking. It's kind of a one-man show right now, but this is just the genesis. This is just the beginning. I'm so pumped. Thank you again. Thank you for giving me your time this evening. I promise it's going to be an immersive, it's going to be a transformative experience. It's going to be like something that you may not have ever been a part of before, and that's okay. So if you can, if you have some space, let's move a little bit. Let's move. Look, I know I was I was one of those people who was always self-conscious of myself. And in college, I felt like I had to drink a lot of alcohol if I wanted to go dancing. And so I went to TCU, and Billy Bob's was one of the places on Thursday nights where a lot of us would go. And I remember feeling the need to get high on drugs and to drink alcohol so that I could just let loose. And look, I've never been a great dancer, but you want to connect and you don't need those substances. You just got to take yourself a little bit less serious. Life was not meant to be as serious as we've made it. Trust me. Trust me. Life is a whole lot more fun when you can smile and cut loose. But it takes being comfortable in your own body, and by moving, by getting ourselves moving. Um, yeah, so Spotify is free. You'll be able to listen to the jam, Suzette. If you click the link, you probably have to register with Spotify. It's completely free, and then you'll be jamming right there with us. So yeah, if you want to drop some stuff in the chat, we're gonna give it about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna get started. I'm so pumped up. If you want to drop stuff in the chat, I'm monitoring that as best I can, and I will answer your questions. All right. So what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes for a moment. I want you to take a couple deep breaths. In and out. I want you to repeat after me. I am here. I am safe. I'm grounded. I am inside my body. And as you take these deep breaths, and as you say, I am here, I am safe, I am safe inside my body. In and out. I want you to start thinking. I want you to start visualizing as best you can your goals for 2025. And I know we're 9 days into the new year, and probably some of you are already feeling somewhat bad about yourself. You may have already stopped a resolution. You may not have resolutions, and that's okay. We're not here to beat ourselves up. What I want you to do is I want you to think about your goals, and I want you to start visualizing. I want you to pretend if there was a switch, just like a light switch, there was a magic switch, and you could just tap that switch, and your life was perfect. What would that perfect life look like? Get absolutely clear as you can right now in your mind. What would that perfect life look like? Okay. One of my favorite mentors opens up and he has a question. If you want to drop in the chat, Andrew, thank you, buddy. It's great to see you too. If you want to drop in the chat, have you ever used Uber? Popular app. Have you ever used Uber? What's the first question that Uber asks you? Where do you want to go? And if you don't have the specific address or the exact business name of where you want to go, there is no way that Uber or Lyft or any other transportation company can get you to where you want to go. And that's the same thing with our lives. So many of us are walking around and we kind of know what we want, but we hold these wants and desires in tension with other wants and desires that are oftentimes conflicting with each other. And if we cannot tell ourselves in our mind exactly where we want to go and why we want to go there, how can God ever get you to that destination? Okay? So, and I understand not everyone on here is Christian, not everyone on here is religion. I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about spirituality. I live my life for Jesus. Uh, I don't even know if I necessarily like the word Christian, but I follow the way of Jesus. And whether or not you feel that way doesn't really matter because I want to establish something with scientific fact. Someone much smarter than me came up with this incredible formula. His name is Albert Einstein, and the formula is E equals mc squared. And it's mind boggling to me because we all learn that. And I think we just gloss over it in science class. Well, I didn't gloss over it in science class, but it lay dormant within me for a really long time. E stands for energy. Energy equals mc squared. M is mass. Another word for mass would be matter, or something of what we consider a tangible physical object that you can see, feel, and touch. Matter, right? Everything is made out of atoms. And c squared is the speed of light. Albert Einstein's E equals mc squared is the mathematical proof that everything in our universe is energy. Everything is energy. So, what does that mean? It means that when you think of the laws of thermodynamics and you think of cause and effect, we were taught wrong. We were taught wrong. The cause of anything happens in the mind. Life is mental, life is mind. So many of us go about our lives, and me included, I went 32, 33 years of brute force thinking that the cause and the effect were all in the physical plane, and that is not true. The cause happens in the mind, it's the intent. And we need to be intentional about the life that we are creating. Because no matter what you do, you are manifesting. Just most of us are manifesting our lives based on a subconscious program that is sorely, sorely outdated. Most, if we haven't done the work, we're running on a software, a mental software program that was programmed uh, during our youth. And as if you think about it, how many of us have iPhones? Every few months we update our iOS. We have to do the same thing with our subconscious, and that's how we can take conscious creation of our reality through our intentions. The cause happens in the mind, and in the physical, we have the effect. So, yes, Sean, your focus, your intent, your mind is what is going to, yes, affect your environment. Because if we think about science for a moment, we think about our eyes and what we see. Our eyes don't really see. Okay. There is a small visible light spectrum that the human eye can be stimulated through reflection and refraction. And the mind, the brain, interprets the light and bears the image. So we put the meaning into our lives. Everything about your life you have created, if it doesn't feel like you've created it, it just means you've done it subconsciously. That's it. That's it. It just means you've done it subconsciously on an outdated program. If there's something about your life it's that you don't like, it is still your creation. And so the reason that I love the creation story is because as you study spirituality and you study science and physics, you'll see that we actually, as a people, as a global population, agree 100% absolutely agree on way more things than we ever disagree on. And one of those things that brings almost every culture together is the creation myth. The names might be slightly different, but the idea of Adam and Eve is pretty much universal across all religions and spiritual paths. And so for a moment, I want to take you back to the Garden of Eden. Okay. When God created all of creation, the heavens and the earth, when God created the heavens and the earth, what did he declare them as? He declared them as good. And as it's written, when the apple was bitten, and the apple is from the tree of good and evil, of knowledge of good and evil, was that the woman looked upon it and saw that it was good for food. So a lot of people try to teach us that the human downfall of perfection, of paradise, was rooted in pride. I disagree. I disagree. It was rooted in judgment. Adam and Eve judged that the food was good for eating when God, the creator, said it was not. And see, what happens is we start to judge our experiences. But our role as humans was never to judge. Our role was two things: to bear witness, which we're going to dive into that here in a moment. Our role was two things: to bear witness and to name. And by name, co-create. You know, it's interesting when someone creates something. So when Steve Jobs creates the iPhone, he puts a name to it because he's the creator. He calls it the iPhone. Our relationship with God, starting with Adam, was God created everything and he didn't name any of it. He brought all the animals to Adam and Adam named the animals. That was always our job. to bear witness and to co-create with our Creator. The fall was the judgment. The reason I bring up judgment is because how many of us have limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging patterns that are rooted in judgment? Rooted in judgment of other people, rooted in judgment of ourselves, rooted in judgment of our feelings. Guys, we are not our feelings. We are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. I can prove it with a simple question. If we are our thoughts or we are our emotions, which we typically identify with, then who is the one feeling them? We are the feeler. We are the observer. We are the witness to the experiences and the emotions. No. We are the witness and the co-creator of our reality. But when we cloud it with judgment, that's when we usurp the throne of God in our own lives and everything begins crumbling, because judge not lest you be judged, and you will be judged with the same measuring stick that you use to judge. So how many of us, and myself included, have judged someone, and later on through reflection, it may have taken years, you realized that your judgment of that other person was really a reflection of the inner dialogue you're having with yourself. So let me give you an example. I was and still battle with hyper perfectionism. I have high standards for myself, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but perfection is not a standard, it's an impossibility. And the inner dialogue that I used to have with myself was very, very self critical. And interestingly enough, that that inner critic would come out in my conversations with other people, most typically the people that I claim to love the most, like my wife, like my coworkers. How many of us are guilty of that? It's okay. This is a judgment-free zone. Because the moment that we start accepting our experience, that we start accepting our emotion, that we start accepting that feeling and being objectively honest, right? It may not be a feeling that you really want to feel all that much or ever again. And being honest, but accepting it as your present reality without judgment, and being able to understand that you are not the feeling, you are just the observer, we're able to detach. And when we can detach in a non judgmental way, that is where we find freedom. That is where we take complete responsibility of our lives. And that is how we become an empowered, sovereign co creator of our own reality. We are putting the meaning on everything, either consciously or subconsciously. So, my challenge is to start putting the meaning on these things consciously, with intent, with your intent to imprint reality based on you and who you are and your unique identity and your unique purpose as an individual. That's power, and that's powerful. So, as you had thought about some of your goals, now I want you to get real honest, and we're going to take a moment, and it's going to get quiet. And I want you to think about, why haven't you achieved those goals? And if you don't mind, drop some of your goals in the chat. And I want to know how long you've had this goal. Some of these goals might be 10 years old, and you're still on the same goal because there's something limiting you from achieving that goal. And that's what I want you to think about right now. I want you to think about those limiting beliefs that are holding you back. And while you do that, if Lori, if you're on, can you hit the guest link? I love that, Lori. Helped 10,000 people. She had that goal for 2 years. I can tell you something. I had an hour and a half long conversation the other day with Lori, and Lori is very far along in her journey. So I think she's already halfway to that goal, too, by the way. Lori, let me know if you hear me and if you want to hit that guest link, and I'll see if we can get you in here. So Lori is the courageous person who has stepped up and is going to do the intervention. There she is. Let me get her on the actual screen too. I think just give me 1 second. All right, Lori, when you get a chance, just unmute yourself. We can actually also. Thank you so much for joining. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. There's a little bit of a sound.
Okay, sorry about that. I will. So, Lori, your goal is to help 10,000 people in 2 years. You have 1 year left on it. Is that what you're saying?
I think. Are you able to hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay. I had to pause the live because I think it was echoing back and forth.
Yeah. That's right. Sorry about that. I should have told you that.
That's okay. I figured it out. I appreciate you having me on, Sean.
I appreciate you. This is awesome. This takes a lot of courage and a lot of vulnerability to do this. So, uh, tell me a little bit more about your goal, so that everyone else can hear. It's to help 10,000 people in 2 years. How you've been going about that so far, and where you are in that goal.
Yeah. So I've had the goal for 2 years. It was actually last year I missed the goal. And so this year I was like, all right, I got to hit it. Right. So I'm still trying to empower 10,000 people. I want people to be able to find their own financial versions of like freedom for themselves, for their families, like whatever that may actually look like. I'm in network marketing, blockchain, and maybe even I could just help someone to save some money from not buying so much dang Starbucks. I mean, like seriously, like I'm on a mission, and whatever that looks like, right? A lot of people know me as like what I don't know what she does because I'm networking all the time. So I'm literally just trying to know everyone, making it my business to be nosing everyone's business. That way, if I can't help you, I know somebody who can. And if it doesn't fall into what I'm able to do, I'm still expanding now, like meeting the masses versus last year I did a lot of one-on-one. I want to make sure that people like in blockchain are ahead of it. They understand like, hey, what's Web3? Don't come back 5 years from now and go, hey, what's a smart contract? Like, get to know me. I'll help you with that. And if you make some money along the way, that's great too. But really just like bridging, being that person that's a bridge of connecting others and into opportunities. I'm all about like, I've never done anything like this before, and it's way outside my comfort zone. Like, I don't even want to post pictures of myself on social media. So when you asked me, I was like, oh boy. So, but yeah, I'm just really about, wanting to get out there and help as many people as I can. And whether, like I said, pushing through comfort zone, building a team, learn, I'm trying to think here and speak, just maybe learning a whole new skill set, right? And if I can have fun and giggle a lot along the way, well, I'm just going to chalk that up as a win.
So, I love your story, and you're so far ahead of the game, because when we talk about needs as humans, there's really only 6 human needs, and they are 4 of them are basic. We need them for survival. It's certainty, which is basically safety; uncertainty, because again, we're not robots. We need a little bit of variety in our life; love and connection; and significance. And actually, science also proves this as true. This is basic psychology, but science proves it. If a newborn baby is not touched, if it feels no love and connection, even if it's fed, the baby will die. Um, But then there's two other spiritual needs that humans need if they're going to live a fulfilling life, and that is growth and contribution. And from our talk yesterday, and from hearing you speak about your goal, your audacious goal of helping 10,000 people, impacting 10,000 lives, I can already tell that your needs are already at the growth and contribution of giving to others, and a growth mindset to yourself. But what do you think it's been that held you back? Why didn't you achieve this goal last year?
It's a really good question. I've been actually like reflecting on it a lot. You know, we all get like, hey, it's about to be 2025. Um, I I think my limiting beliefs have been like twofold. First, I really doubted whether I truly am capable of leading and inspiring other people. I've always had like that little voice of like, dude, who do you think you are? Like, seriously, Lori, like, who are you? And like, no one's going to buy into what you're selling. It's been like a reoccurring guest in my head for like years that I've continued to tell myself that. And then I think, secondly, I've had a habit of partnering with the wrong people, right? Expecting everyone to share my level of integrity and energy and drive, and then super let down when they don't. And if that's not enough, I expect way too much out of myself. And I know I don't wear a cape, but you know, for some reason I can't let go of that. And I don't find that rest or balance. It's just go time and all gas, no brakes.
Do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Oh, absolutely. I suffer from that.
And so, what you're kind of describing is what I'd call imposter syndrome to a
Mhm.
certain degree, right?
Yep.
Do you think maybe that you're holding yourself to a standard that is impossible to meet?
I think I even said, like, I've been told by other people. I had a mentor that would use an analogy of Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl for like the fifth time. And during his interview, they're like, "So Tom, you know, when are you going to go home and do?" And his first response was, "I'm going to go home and think about how I can play better next year for when I win the Super Bowl." And I'm like, my mentor told me that, I was like, "Oh man, I got some work to do."
Let me ask you this. I I know that Tom Brady is an exceptional athlete, and we're actually going to talk a little bit about Tom Brady and some things that they've proven scientifically by studying him in championship games. But do you believe that Tom Brady? I know that he has achieved a lot. The science of achievement he has down, but you personally, and it's a little bit of an unfair question, but just based on what you know about Tom Brady, and from that comment, do you think he's fulfilled?
You know, based on his response, no.
Do you think maybe Tom Brady holds himself to a standard that's impossible?
Of course.
And if we hold ourselves to impossible standards, what does that mean? Does that mean that we can ever love ourselves properly? Or does that mean we're keeping ourselves locked in a jail cell of unhappiness and suffering while we hold the key?
I think that obviously it's probably the later of the two, right? And ultimately, you know, I think suffering from perfectionism is something that, like, the reality of it, we always fall short. And when we fall short, usually we beat ourselves up first, right? Like that we didn't do it again. And I think it's a storyline that I've struggled with because somebody says, you know, do something. I'm like, I'll beat the competition. Don't even else bother showing up because I'm going to win. And it's helped me, right? It's helped me a lot, but it also has hindered me a lot, right? It really creates a lot of self judgment, so it's difficult.
And so when you're stuck in a cycle of self judgment, because you mentioned that some of this you feel like you've been attracting the wrong business partners, right? So when you're stuck in a cycle of self-judgment, do you think you're going to naturally attract people who have good relationships with themselves? Or do you think you're going to naturally attract people who are reflecting similar self-judgment issues with their own relationship with themselves?
Wow, that was deep. I think I want to tell myself that I'm not putting off that energy. But obviously I am if I'm still attracting what it is that I don't want versus what I do want.
And see that now we're getting into the subtle shift, because remember, it's not a what I want to put off until until we can become conscious of what we are putting off. We cannot change it. So what's been happening is your subconscious has been putting that energy signature off. So I don't know if you like spy movies, but sometimes in the spy movies they'll have like the advanced technology, and they'll be like his energy signature or his heat signature, and that's what our subconscious mind is doing at all times. And it's not until we can become conscious of it can we now intentionally and proactively start to reprogram that subconscious, which is also another word for it. It's in your workbook, the reticular activating system, your RAS, which is basically the phenomenon, the scientific phenomenon, and the physical part of the brain that is going to find things automatically based on where you're focusing. So the mind is an excellent filter, right? Um, it's kind of like the Where's Waldo, right? If you're constantly thinking Where's Waldo, you're more likely to find him on the page. But think about a Where's Waldo book for just a second. How many of us have remember that? I might be dating myself for anyone young. Um, if I had said, okay, where's Waldo, and you find and search and you find him, and I said, okay, well, where's the blue car? You're not going to be able to answer because your mind wasn't focused on the blue car. It was focused on Waldo. So at any given moment, we're seeing in our reality what we're focusing on. So if we're focusing on a scarcity mindset, if all we can think about is the things that we lack, then we're always going to see lack. We're always going to see poverty. We're always going to see scarcity. But the same thing goes for abundance. If we train our mind to where all we see is abundance, no matter what the external circumstance says, no matter what your bank account says, if we see abundance in everything in our life and we focus on abundance, that's all we're going to start seeing. Same with gratitude, same with joy, same with happiness. And so in your case, when we're dealing with this toxic self-judgment, because I was there, what are some things that you can do every single day? You, that works for you, not what works for me, not what works for some other guru, that you can start forgiving yourself and trading your expectations for appreciation. Can you think of anything that you could do so that you can appreciate yourself more rather than judge yourself?
Yeah, I actually January 1, with all the masses of people with the New Year's resolution, I started writing down all my wins, even if it was something as stupid as making my bed, did the laundry. I got about 30 already today. And it's enough for me to look at it and instead of beating myself going, I did a lot today. So it's like, I'm super excited. It's kind of like I thought about it. I'm so into sports and always being challenged with the competitiveness. They keep score. Why am I not keeping score? So now I'm keeping score.
So I love that. And I don't know if anyone saw me do this. So one thing is come up with a signature move. You probably see at least half of Tiger Woods. I got 2 of them up there. I've always loved Tiger Woods. I'm into sports as well. Not as much as I used to be, but I'm into sports. And my signature move has always been the fist pump. So every day, I make sure that I spend a couple minutes priming myself. Yes, yes, yes. Especially if I'm getting on a sales call. Yes, yes. And I'm grooming my physiology to expect to win. I'll stand in the mirror and do it. And I know it sounds silly, but the fastest way to change your state. So anytime you're in a self-judging spiral, and we all know what a spiral is, right? When it seems like we're ruminating on something and we just can't snap ourselves out of it. What we need to do is we need to move. We need to have some move that we've conditioned the move to a better state of mind. And we can instantly move, because one of the things that I want to illustrate with you, Lori, is, can you show me what you look like when you're down on yourself?
What I look like?
Yeah, because your body language is at least 50% of the way that you communicate. So if you're in a state, show me what a sad Lori looks like.
I guess it would be me frowning.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I mean, would you be looking down or looking up?
I don't know the answer to that, because it's probably not something that I would look in the mirror or focus on, like when I'm feeling down and out. So
Okay.
I go into avoidance when I'm sad, which means I'll say something, right? Like,
when's the last time you've been in one of these kind of self-judgment spirals?
November.
Can you close your eyes for 2 seconds and just think about how that felt in November?
Yep.
All right, now look at the camera. You frown when you close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Your facial expression completely changed into a frown. And right now your smile is still not as strong. But I want you to do the exact opposite. I want to put your right hand on your heart with your left hand over it. Close your eyes for a couple seconds. Take a deep breath and think about your last wins, the wins that you're going to write down today. I want you to think about those wins. And it's a subtle change, but your curvature of your lips have already changed a little bit. And when you're ready, open up. And now your smile is more natural. Your presence is more up. And the reason I'm illustrating this is because we are human beings, but we also do our emotions. There are neural pathways engraved in our mind that are associated with certain feelings, with certain emotions. And when you get stuck in one of those spirals, I want you, everyone, and this is for everyone. I hope you know Lori is being amazingly vulnerable here. But this applies to everyone. It's a different issue. It's a different limiting belief, but the principles and the biology is for everyone. The physiology, the changes in state is for everyone. So whenever you find yourself in one of those patterns or spirals, pay attention to your body language. Pay attention to what's going on physiologically. And once you become conscious of it, change it. Get up. One of the greatest blessings I have is a 5-year-old daughter. And I need to get back to doing it every day. But we sing and dance together. And I kid you not, I can be having the worst day of my life, but the minute I go turn on Danny Go and I sing and dance with my 5-year-old, every problem is no longer a mountain but a molehill. And my entire world shifts. Because the external is only how our internal interprets it. And so Lori, what do you think? You're writing out your wins. What is one more thing that Lori could do to love herself a little bit better today and every day?
Well, it's kind of funny. You already stole my answer. Is I actually schedule in. I'm gonna really age myself here for a moment. So back in some time ago, when pagers were really popular, and everybody had pagers, 143 meant "I love you," right, on the phone. So every day at 1:43, if I meet people like, and I really like this person, I'll let them in on and ask them to be a part of this with me. And I usually text people like right before it happens. I know everybody, and I asked them to do exactly what you just said. Put your hand on your heart, and at 1:43, we're just gonna love on each other right now in this moment. Stop what you're doing, and you'll see me sometimes in meetings. Kind of funny because somebody thought I was like the universal sign for choking. They thought I was choking because I was doing it. And I was like, no, I'm not having a heart attack. I'm not choking. I'm didn't really want to tell them what I was doing because I was a little embarrassed, but just reminding myself how blessed I am to really be a part of so many people that genuinely made me feel some type of way, right? And it is in my phone. It's on my alarms. It annoys everybody in my house because there's 3 alarms that go off right before 1:43, and I just stop everything that I'm doing. And it has been 2 years since I've been doing this, and it literally is life changing for me. Because, like I said, I'm all gas, no brakes. It's a forced stop because I lose full focus of whatever I was doing. That allows me to force myself to stop. So that is something I've done for a long time. But counting the wins is new, and even like just I even wrote down that you asked me to do this. This was big for me, right? I call it a win.
This is a big win, huge win.
You either think I'm crazy or special or both. So,
No, I think you are a beautiful individual, and I thank you for your courage, and I thank you for stepping up and claiming this victory for yourself. I would ask I think the last question is, what do you think? Do you think it's possible you've already reached your goal, but maybe in your perfectionism and these standards that you hold for yourself, you're not giving yourself enough credit? Because I would say if I've helped 100 people and then those people go help 10 more people based on what I was able to help them with, then I've helped 10,000 people, have I not? And I know we've talked. How many people have you? I think you said you've done it. You've gotten at least 5,000 out of those 10,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think it's possible that those 5,000 people have went on to help just one other person? And if those 5,000 people have went on to help just one other person, that'd be 10,000, right? But what if it was 10 people? What if those 5,000 people went and have helped 10 people? How many would that be?
I'm sorry, what you said, if 10 people.
If those 5,000 people went on and used the knowledge that you gave them to help 10 people,
right?
How many total people have you helped?
Oh, I've surpassed my goal, right?
Well,
I'm there.
I mean, you've crushed it. 50,000. It'd be 50,000.
Yeah.
And if those 5,000 people have helped 10 other people, and then those 10 people go help 10 more, now that's 500,000. So you've already helped exponentially the entire world. Can you live in that reality? How empowered would you feel if you woke up every morning and instead of saying to yourself, I still need to go help 5,000 people because I have not reached my goal, that you said, man, I crushed my goal. I helped 500,000 people last year. And I'm just getting started. What does that reality feel like?
I think speaking it into existence, into the present, is something that, like I told you, I'm a visionary. I'm not a visionary, excuse me. I'm very analytical. So that's probably why Michael hung up on numbers, right? And
well, I just did some pretty basic. I'm an accountant by trade. I'm a CPA, so I understand. I did some basic math, and I think it's very, very possible you could easily say you've helped 500,000 people. My point is, what would the reality feel like? Rather than being down on yourself for you not achieving your goal, if you lived in the reality that you believed you've already crushed your goal, you've already knocked it out of the park. Jose Canseco steroid baseball jack the grand slam.
I love
What
it.
does that reality feel like for you?
Even just hearing you say it, you can even see on my face, right? And I do feel it in my heart. I do. Like just hearing you say it, it's like the I'm gonna call it the old version of myself because I'm not gonna wake up and say that anymore. The old version of myself, is literally telling myself like, okay, it's game time, get your game face on and get suited up so we can go, right? And I know there's still a game to play where even just like I said, you saying that just overall, I think someone said it's called feeling your face. Like I literally could just feel it, right? That I need to speak this into existence and really, what are everybody's this? I call it the young ones manifesting everything, right? And I guess I've never looked at it that way to see that it goes on because I guess I've never bothered to ask anybody, hey, Sean, I was able to help you today, like were you able to help anybody else with that? And I've just kind of left it there, and I did so much one-on-one that's why I was saying I'm not doing that again, right? So yeah, I think that the old version of me is going to burn down that saying of like suit up, and I've already done it. And I think it's just going to motivate me to go even with a, it will make me want to do more, but with a different mindset of already realizing, well, you've already done it. So it's just easier from here, right? It's going to be just like gliding from here.
So I know you're from LA and you live in Northern California. And prayers for all the people in LA right now. Are you at all a LA Rams fan or know about them?
I do, but I'm not a Rams fan. When they left years ago, I said goodbye.
Well, the reason I bring it up is, have you ever heard of a wide receiver named Cooper Kupp?
Hmm?
Yeah. So, gosh, I'm going to date myself. This is probably over 5 years. It feels like yesterday for me, but when the Rams had Jared Goff, they went to the Super Bowl and they lost. Pretty sure they lost to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, if I remember right. Because
Hmm?
we're gonna come back to Tom later. And years later, with Matthew Stafford, the Rams went back to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl. You know who the MVP of that game was? It
I
was Cooper
don't.
Kupp. It was Cooper Kupp. And it's one of the rare moments where it was a non-quarterback. Cooper Kupp won the MVP of that Super Bowl. Uh, it's been a while, so fact checkers fact check me. I may be wrong, but I'm fairly certain Cooper Kupp won the. And the reason I bring that up is because when they interviewed Cooper Kupp after the game, he said that he had a vision. He's a man of faith. He said he had a vision from God, and basically that God had told him the first time he went to the Super Bowl that they lost because they were playing for victory. But when they get back, they have to learn how to play from victory.
Hmm.
And that is what I want you to wake up and remember, that you're not playing for victory anymore. You're playing from victory. You're already the champion. You've already crushed your goal. I'm not telling you to make new goals, but rather than live in this self-deprecating cycle of not being enough, we've already proven that you're more than enough. And from there, just reinforcing that every single day. So, Lori, you let me know. I feel like you've had your breakthrough, but if not, we can keep going. How do you feel?
I feel awesome. I loving football, and I know who he is. I don't recall that you know um, who took MVP of game, but just hearing you say playing from versus playing for, just like altering that word, it really just kind of like lights me up that I just didn't know this sooner.
Trust me, I wish I had known these things sooner myself. But that's the beauty and that's the journey of life. So, if you don't mind, let's get you back on the regular live stream because, gosh, we're already 50 minutes into this thing, and I don't want to go over. So we're about to take what you did and we're going to bring it to the group, and it's going to be awesome. So thank you so much, Lori. I really, really appreciate you joining. Guys, if you want to drop comments, I'm reading some. David, let's connect, buddy. I know, I know that is really, really unfortunate, but you know what? Every single person, I challenge you to go read a biography of just anyone that you like, and I can guarantee you, every single biography of anyone who's ever been successful in anything, whether it's sports, business, politics, whatever his arena is, whatever her arena is, they dealt with tremendous setbacks. Because let me tell you guys something, the people who have stayed with me, who have stayed strong here on this live stream, thank you. The more you demand out of life, the more it's going to knock you down. If you want to be rich, if you want to be abundant, if you want to be a person of high impact, life is going to try to knock you down. And it will knock you down. Life will never get tired of knocking you down. But eventually, it will get tired of watching you stand back up as long as you get back up. Every time life knocks you down, as long as you keep standing back up, it will get tired of seeing you stand back up. And it will say, fine, enough. I'm done. All right. So hopefully Lori is back on the normal live stream. I'm going to put on some music here. What I want you to do is I want you to be honest with yourself, and I want you to think of the number one limiting belief that is holding you back. And guys, there's a lot of symptoms of limiting beliefs. I call them the bad sins: burnout, loss of ambition with work, addiction. Addiction comes in all forms. And it's not the addiction. The addiction is just a symptom of a deeper root cause, a false narrative, a false belief, normally about yourself. I have overcome and beaten drug addiction, nicotine, alcohol, pornography, sex, whatever that case may be. If you do not deal with the root issue, the addiction will just jump from one addiction to a new addiction. Depression, anxiety, self-harm, suicidal thoughts. These are all symptoms of deep root issues, limiting beliefs, curses, really, that we've invoked on ourselves through a poor subconscious program that we continue to run. What are those limiting beliefs? If you need to close your eyes, close your eyes. Think about all those things. Are you having an identity crisis? Do you suffer from narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, trauma, complex trauma? Do you have deep relational hurts, deep relational issues, divorce, infidelity, just struggling as a parent to raise your children? They're all symptoms. They are not you. We're not judging any of these. Remember, we're bringing them in our consciousness. We're inviting them to surface. They're no longer scary. They're not scary because we're not judging them. We're accepting them. They're a part of who we are. They're a part of our story. Okay? Trust me. There's no judgment. I'm probably one of the worst of all these bad sins. I've dealt with each and every one of them. Each and every one of them. We all do to some extent. What are those limiting beliefs? If you want to be brave, drop them in the chat. Spend a couple more minutes. Keep your eyes closed. I'm going to be quiet. Take some deep breaths. So my deep limiting belief was one of worthiness, that I didn't deserve a good life, that I was already broken beyond repair, had already done too many bad things, made too many bad decisions, and that I just wasn't worthy. I wasn't worthy of success. I wasn't worthy of making money. I wasn't worthy of people to honor and respect me. And it made me into a people pleasing perfectionist doormat, and it made me extremely angry, and I would very rarely show that anger. I would just let it pent up, and it lived in my body, and I was so stiff. I walked around like this. I didn't even realize it. This was Sean Shakarami just a few years ago. And then I got real fat. And I know that's a taboo word in today's society, fat. But I got real fat because I started drinking in COVID. Found my drink of choice in 2020. Can barely remember the name. It's called Irish. 'Cause I don't drink anymore. An Irish Mule. So instead of vodka, I think it's vodka in a normal mule. Is I would put Irish whiskey, Bushmills, Bushmills. And it got to a point where I would open that Bushmills bottle at like 12 noon. And look, guys, we can cover these things up. I made 300. I've never outdone 2020. I made over $300,000 that year. But I wasn't happy. My life was starting to spiral out of control. Now, luckily, alcoholism, some people wouldn't even have considered me an alcoholic. By definition, I was for a little while. It was a very short lived thing. Alcohol was never really my drug of choice. I went years in high school smoking pot. I think I smoked pot until I was like 26 or 27. And when I say smoke pot, I mean I smoked pot every day, all day. I took my SAT high because I thought it made me more creative. And they start you out on the writing exam. And I was stoned when I took my SAT when I was like I think I was 17 years old in high school. I went to work high for years, would have it out in my car sometimes. I'd wake and bake and go during my lunch break and get stoned and sometimes fall asleep in the back of my car because I was so stressed out because I was working a job that I wasn't passionate about. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't happy. It's because I wasn't living in the way that I was designed to live. And it all came down to some deep trauma that happened in my childhood and this feeling of not being good enough, of not being worthy. So, Suzette, thank you so much for being vulnerable, for being open. I completely understand that thought. I get that one. So now what I want you to do, and this is going to be tough, but I want you to think of how much that limiting belief has cost you in the past. I want you to think all the way through. I think about my pot use, and gosh, it cost me countless relationships. I do believe everything happens for a reason, and I absolutely love my wife. But I dated a lot of good girls where I chose pot over that relationship. And it's not just relationships with women. There's a lot of good people that I could have had really good friendships with, but they didn't want to smoke weed, and it wasn't a personal thing, but birds of a feather flock together. If I'm out doing drugs and they're not, costs me a lot at work. I'll be honest. Probably could have been more successful. Now that, like I said, those jobs really weren't for me long term, but I wasn't bringing my best self to work when I was stoned every day. What have these limiting beliefs? What have they cost you in your past? Money, relationships, your happiness? Has it cost you a marriage? Has it cost you a relationship with your children? What have these things cost you? Thanks, Chris. I got this at Sawgrass. I love to play golf. Um, Now, I want you to bring your mind to the present moment, and only you're going to be able to answer this. But what is this belief costing you right now in the here and now? And just in the last week and in the next week, today, what does that belief cost you today? Has it cost you business opportunities because you're not confident enough to put yourself out there and to send that email or to make that phone call? Did you have a fight with your wife this morning? Were you just super pissed off and otherwise it could have been a great day? I know a lot of us are stuck at home, and even I still, like, look, guys, come on, no one's perfect. I still deal with I like quiet things for the most part. It's hard for my mind to think now when there's a lot of noise, and I have a 5-year-old, right? So I have to really be on my game when my wife and my kiddo are home and remember the truth. The truth of the reality is that it is a blessing that they are here with me, and not fall into a irritability, frustrated pattern of where I start taking out some of my stress on my family. Now, I want you to think of the future. What is this belief going to cost you if you don't change? If you continue just the way you are, what's it going to cost you a year from now? How much money are you going to lose out on in your business? How many more fights are you going to have with your spouse? What's your relationship with your children going to be like? What's your relationship with your boss going to be like? What's the relationship with your colleagues going to be like? What are your friendships going to be like in a year from now? In 3 years, you still haven't changed. You've still been carrying around this bullshit, false belief, hating yourself or hating someone else, blaming yourself or blaming somebody else, maybe even blaming God. 3 years from now, what does your life look like because you haven't changed? Are you married? You divorced? Talk to your kids? Did you get the job promotion that you wanted? Did you get fired? Has the addiction or has the vice turned into an addiction at this point? How much weight have you gained? Are you still in good physical health? Have you had a heart attack? Diagnosed with something? In 5 years, 5 years from today, you still have not changed. You still have continued to blame yourself, refuse to forgive yourself. You blame your wife, you blame your kids, you blame your boss, you blame God. It's 5 years from today. What's your life look like? You haven't changed. You're still carrying it there. I know it's uncomfortable. Hold it. Feel it. You don't heal unless you feel. Feel the pain of what it will be like in 5 years if you have still refused to change. You can see in my body language, I shake a little bit. If you start to shake, let it out. Feel it. Feel it. What does your life look like in 5 years if you still refuse to change? 10 years. 10 years, a decade. It is 2035, January 9th, 2035. You still have refused to change. You keep going. What does your life look like? What do you look like? Has 10 years, does it look like 30 years of age? Are you married? Do you have any good relationships? What's your income? What's your career? What's your finances look like? Do you have any friends left? How many friendships have you lost by now? Are you even still alive? Feel it. Let it out. If you want to make a sound, it's just you in your home. Let it make a sound. Let it out. Let it out. Now, what thought would completely reverse it? So if my thought is I'm unworthy, how can I reframe that thought into I am worthy? I am deserving of all the promises of God and all the abundance life has to offer me. What is the opposite? Because the opposite of whatever limiting belief you have is the truth. And it's now going to become your truth. I need you to think of that thought right now. I need you to think of the thought that is the light switch. Do you remember the light switch that we talked about in the beginning? The light switch that I hit this light switch and now my life is perfect. Because this thought, whatever the opposite of your limiting belief is, whatever is going to reframe your limiting belief, that is your light switch. And it's right here and it's right now. And I need you to grab it and I need you to claim it and I need you to hold space for it and I need you to hang on to it for as long as you can. I need you to see it in your mind. I need you to think about it. I need you to focus on it. What is it for you? What is the thought that is your switch? What is the 180-degree switch to flip that limiting belief into truth, into your truth? I want you to put your hand on your heart. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to visualize breathing in the new thought and breathing out the old thoughts. Like Lori said, I want you to visualize you now spiritually being rebirthed. You are the new creation. The old is gone. We're breathing out all the toxicity. We're breathing out all the old, and we're breathing in the new, and we're breathing in life. And to the best of your ability, I want you to internalize your body language right now. I want you to internalize this feeling right here, right now, because this is you. This is the real you. This is the truth of who you are. Empowered. Empowered. All right. Now, I'm going to guide you through the way that you can keep this momentum going forward. We have goal clarity. We fixed our limiting beliefs. I want you to think about your goals. If you want to use the workbook, if you want to use a journal, if you just want to think about it, that's fine. I always, and I practice what I preach. Okay, I am a big pen and paper person. Here's the paper. I printed it out myself. You can see I take handwritten notes. I got my pen right here. Okay, old school pen and paper, still the best. I want you to think about what you've already achieved. What was different about those achievements? What did you do differently? And then I want you to think about your ideal reality on this personal roadmap page. This one. And when you name your goal, I want you to give it an exciting name, okay? When I talked about me going through my worthiness, one of the last places of my worthiness was in my finances. Um, I'll give you a quick backstory. My dad was very successful, but he was a very successful person. Um, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet, cheap. Okay. He had a lot of money, but he lives in a scarcity mindset. He may have a lot of money, but he's poor. Okay. And my mom and my dad would always fight. I grew up in a crazy household with a lot of fights, even domestic violence, abuse. But long story short, my mom would always tell me, "You're going to be just like your dad, and all the money in the world just means that you're an evil person, because if you have a lot of money, it means you've stabbed a lot of people in the back." So I've always had this weird relationship with money, with finances. So just so you know, when I say name my goal for 2025 is to be the master of money, the money master. I want you to name it something that excites you, okay? Because that's going to make it more connecting and more fun. We can have fun in achieving our goals. Remember, we're not supposed to be these uptight, serious people all the time. Sometimes we're just supposed to sit back and sing with Chris Stapleton. All right, we're just travelers. And guys, the end of this journey, yeah, everything's energy. We're going to move on to a better place. But the whole point of this is to have fun during this journey. So when you name that goal, I want you to name down the habits. Success is just patterns, guys. Just patterns. And patterns are outcomes of habits. So what are the habits that are going to support my goal? So for me, if I want to be the money master in 2025, some of my daily habits are I'm going to check my bank account every single day. And just that way, I don't have to, at the end of the month, do a whole lot of accounting for it. Every day, I just do a little bit. The other habit that I've changed is with some ADD and some of the trauma I've been through, I dealt with impulsivity, right? So I had to become more disciplined in certain areas of my life. I needed to show more self-control. And a lot of that was I Facebook got me bad, guys. Like Facebook ads, especially like journal and self-help stuff and courses. I'd see it and I would just impulsively buy it. And not saying every single one was a mistake. But what I do now, the new habit that I developed is every time I see something on Facebook and I want to buy it, I allow myself to click on the link and then I hit open up in browser and then I X out of it, go back to Facebook or whatever else I was doing, and I just have it there sitting in my browser, and I'll write it down. And if it's something I really need or want, and it makes sense with my budget, it's available to me right there, and I can go back and do it. Guys, just by changing that one habit of rather than just sitting there and clicking and buying right then and there and forcing myself to put some time, some space in between the click and the purchase, I have not bought one thing off a Facebook ad in over a month or two. I started my 2025 resolutions. I started in this in October. So, what are some habits like that, some daily habits that are going to produce new, better patterns that support your goal? Write them down. Then I want you to think about the thoughts and the bad habits that are going to stand in your way. I want you to identify those, because remember, we have to bring them into our consciousness. We have to bring them up in our consciousness. Okay. And then the one daily action. What is one thing you can do every single day? One of the most powerful things that I've done every day for over a year now is spent 15 minutes in prayer, 15 minutes with God in prayer and in my Bible. And it supports every single one of my goals and my growth. You need to think of something, one thing that's non-negotiable that you can do every day that's going to support this new goal. Because we don't attract what we want. We attract who we are based on the frequency of our energy. And we have to start changing our habits and our actions to align with our intents. And that is what's going to change our energy. We have to start making space in our life for the things that we want. So one of the things that I've been intentional about this year is my mom is a hoarder. And I'm borderline was becoming a hoarder. Um, and I've been moving to minimalism. And it's been hard. But 3 or 4 times a week, I go through my office, I go through my closets, and I find stuff I don't need, and I either sell it or I throw it out. And what I've realized, especially in terms of my finances, is as I'm getting rid of things, I'm actually making space for what matters most. And I start attracting what matters most into my life. Now, this last piece here is we've done a lot in a little over an hour. If you actually did the exercises with the breath work, then you've experienced something. But life has a funny way of every time that we take a step forward, it's going to try to make us take a step back. Some of you are going to have an experience today and then question it tomorrow and ask, oh, it must not be real because it's not something I can touch and feel. It's real, but you have to hang on to it. And part of hanging on to it is developing the mindset of a champion. And it's coming up with a routine, something that keeps you grounded every day. And it's not just one action, it's a routine. I wake up, I brush my teeth, I shower, I get dressed, I spend quiet time, my 15 minutes with God, I do a daily devotional, I do affirmations, try to get a nature walk outside, although the cold and the snow has been a little bit tougher. I move my body. I do 15 minutes of reading, a meditation, and then I get to work. My routine may not work for you, and that's okay. You don't have to fill it all out, but you need to come up with a daily routine and some rituals that are going to keep you grounded and are going to reinforce. Lori talked about sports. Repetition is so important. If you want lasting change, you have to put in the repetitive work every day. I don't know if has anyone seen Steph Curry play basketball? He's one of my favorite basketball players. And when he pulls up at like half court, he throws that swish in there. You can see it in his eyes. I mean, most of the time he's already turned around. He has his back to the basket as the ball is going through the hoop. Steph has his back to the basket because he knows it's going in. But he knows it's going in because he shoots like 10,000 shots a day. Talk about boring. I like basketball. I used to go to the gym, play around a little bit. And there's a time where I wanted to just get good at basketball, and I would take 100 shots a day. And I did it for like 2 weeks. Because, guys, 100 shots is boring. It's boring. Think about 10,000 a day. It's crazy. It's 8 hours of shooting or more. But it's the work behind the scenes. It's what happens in private. It's what happens behind closed doors that gives you the power of that type of success in the public. A lot of what a champion does is boring. I said that we would talk a little bit about Tom Brady. What makes Tom Brady special? So they did some research on Tom Brady, and in the biggest moments of the biggest games, they would take his heart rate and they'd look at his brain waves associated with what was going on. And it's called the champion effect. And it's this state. It's a physical and also mental state of mind. Another word for it is flow state. It's associated with like alpha brain waves. Tom Brady, in the last 2 minutes of championship games, when everyone else has cortisol, which is the stress hormone, coursing through their bodies, they're stressed. Cortisol is also associated with fight or flight. It's when the reptilian part of our brain, which is the lower part of our brain, is in control. So our executive functioning part of our brain is no longer in control. Everyone else, for the most part, is in fight or flight, stressed. Not Tom Brady. Tom Brady, his testosterone is through the roof. He's in total control. He's in a flow state. His brain waves are an alpha, not beta. The game slows down for him. And his cortisol levels are basically zero. So he's not stressed at all. He's in a meditative flow state. That's how he wins 7 Super Bowl rings. Now, how do you get into that state? There's actually some prerequisites to flow. One of them is repetition. The moment can't be too big for you. Number 2 goes back to the beginning of the session. You cannot judge the moment. You have to detach from it. You have to detach from outcomes. You have to be slightly apathetic to winning or losing. It's not about winning or losing. It's about performing. It's about just being the best that you can. The flow state is an energetic and spiritual state of mind that you can train your body to get into if you do the things that we talked about tonight. And so I really, really encourage you to internalize this experience, to make a promise to yourself tonight that you're going to put in motion the things that you learned. You're going to build a routine. You're going to build habits. You're going to keep that switch flipped to your desired reality. And I promise you, if you go this whole year and you do your best, because no one's perfect, but you do your best to hang on to this, to put these things into repetition, to become a resilient champion, an empowered, sovereign human, conscious co-creator of your own reality, you do this for 1 year, I guarantee you, you will crush your goal and your life will look 10, 100, 1,000 times better than you could ever imagine than today. And look, some of you, like Lori, we talked about Lori. Honestly, Lori, I love you, but you're already so far ahead in the game. Getting you to a breakthrough was actually challenging, number one. But number 2, you're hitting the law of diminishing returns because you're already up here. So that's not to say that anyone's life is bad right now, but it can always be better. And as we bring these things up to our conscious state of mind, we take control and power back. And now we are the powerful co-creators of our life, exactly how we're supposed to be, from a place of detachment and non-judgment of ourselves and non-judgment of other people. So the next steps, guys, is I'm going to be sending out. Yeah. Yes, the Bruce Lee quote about water. That's a perfect way to summarize it. I love that. So, guys, the next steps here with 7 minutes left is I will be sending out only for the people who registered. There's like it's somewhere between 13 and 20 people on tonight, which is awesome. went up and down, fluctuated, normal. But 52 people registered. So I'm going to be sitting on a community group. Look for that. There's going to be 52 like-minded individuals in that community to support us and each other. And I'll be part of that for the entire year, absolutely free. It's just part of being here tonight, which I want to thank you for showing up, playing out. Number 2 is stay committed to these goals, stay committed to this process, and stay engaged in the group. Help each other. And then number 3 is I'm going to stick on here a little bit longer, but I put my personal information. That cell phone number, that's my personal cell phone number. And you have my email address. Please reach out if you need one-on-one help, especially if you're dealing with something deep, like an addiction, like a deep trauma. I'd love to help you. These are the things that are going to help you stay on track this year. So, thank you guys. I'm going to stay on the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, do some Q&A. David, yes, I have. It's been a little while. I have a translation of meditations. Marcus Aurelius is definitely a person that I look up to. Thank you, Lori. Thank you. You're awesome. Well, I appreciate you being on, Lori. Now, again, I'm going to stay on as we close out. If you're dropping off, I'm going to say a quick prayer over everybody. Dear Father, all glory to you. Lord, I just thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I pray over each and every person who registered, who is on this live stream, Lord. I just pray that you would bless them immensely, help them reach their goal, help them stay strong. We know that the enemy, that life, is going to try to steal their victory. But Lord, remind them that the victory is part of their inner self, and nothing can take that away from them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. That's where growth happens, Lori. Outside the comfort zone. Outside the comfort zone. That's where growth happens. Suzette, I appreciate you being on. Yes, the comments were awesome. I hopefully addressed most of them. I saw some stuff on ChatGPT and AI. I'm not gonna lie, AI does freak me out a little bit, but I do use it. For people in business, uh, it's a great tool. How I use it is I write. I'm a writer. I've written a book. Um, if you'd like me to send you a copy of my book, let me know. I'll send you a copy free. I know I'm sending some out to Lori for her help tonight. But long story short is I write everything first, and then I put the whole thing in the Chat GPT and let it edit it for me. And that has been a huge help. It's helped me communicate better for emails, for professional emails, for my newsletter and blog posts. But I do think it's important to retain authenticity and your own voice. So what I do is I write the whole thing myself, and then just use AI, ChatGPT, as like an editor. It's like having your own personal editing team, which is pretty neat, actually. Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, if you ever want any tips, man, I'm writing my second book this year. Well, thinking about it, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do it. I already have the outline, so I might as well just get it done. But that's awesome. Uh, there's a lot of amazing people registered and on here tonight. I can't wait for this community group to get going because a lot of big hitters. We talked a little bit about Jose Canseco. It's almost like Chat GPT is like steroids for people who want to write. Hey, and that's pretty good, man. Trying to remember. So I think 25,000 words is around 150 pages, like in a well, I'll show you. In this size of book, which is kind of like the normal size for nonfiction, or so I was told. Um, so 13,000 words, that's good, man. That's good. I think 13,000 comes out to like 80, 90 pages, which is, I have to check. But my book is like 94 pages. I think it was close to 20,000 words for 90 pages, but don't quote me. I can figure that out for sure for you. Well, just keep going, man. You've already got a great start. That's awesome. If you email me or text me your address, I'll send you a copy of my book. I'm happy to do that. I think you'd like it. Sounds good, Andrew. All right, guys. And David, I saw your stuff about your job, man. Let's connect one on one on that. Well, I have some stuff for you if you're still on, David. Would love to connect one on one. Send me. I think you have my phone number, so send me a text message tomorrow. Let's connect. Oh, Suzette, yeah. So yeah. So playing from victory, right? It's subtle, but it's a mindset shift. So how I think about it, which you don't have to think about it like this, okay? But if we think about time, right? We humans perceive time as linear, but physics and quantum mechanics, we know that time is not linear. We also know this scripturally and biblically too. Time is not linear. And how do I know that? Because Christ, when he died, it was also a backwards sacrifice, right? The Old Testament or in the New Testament, it explains that in before Christ, people died with faith, forward-looking faith to the Christ, but that meant that it wasn't a linear time of when he died. It meant that there was always access to Christ throughout all time, before he walked and after he walked on a linear view. And so we know that the victory has already been won. Time exists at all time. So it's basically raising our level of consciousness into victory and living our life from a place of already winning the war, of knowing that we've already won. Because when we know we've already won, we can walk, talk, live from a place of absolute, what I call God confidence, that all things are happening for us, that life is for us, life is happening for us, through us, by us, and God is with us at all times. If you'd like to talk more about playing from victory instead of for it, would love to connect one on one with you, Suzette. You were such a great business partner to me. I owe you that anyways. But it's the idea that we don't have to try. There's nothing for us to do. We just have to be ourselves, and by ourself, our highest self. We have to put on the mantle of the new creation and walk in our purpose. But that's all we have to do. That's We don't have to earn victory. We don't have to fight for victory. We've already been given victory. That's what it's all about. Yep. Happy New Year, guys. Andrew, right back at you. If there's any more questions, drop them in the chat. I don't want to take up any more of your time. We're 4 minutes over. So if there's nothing else, I really, again, thank you. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you for coming. And look out for the email. We're all going to get in community together, and it's going to be amazing. And I really hope to hear from everyone soon. Thank you, guys.